Good evening, I'm Andrew Kirkman, and we welcome you to this week's episode of VTV News. On our broadcast tonight, a look at this afternoon's win over Harvard and the Vanderbilt Scientific Imaging Center. But we start tonight with the Vanderbilt student government presidential elections. Voting opened this morning and continues through noon on Friday. It has been a long week of campaigning for the three candidates. They are Executive Vice President Mary Claire Mannard, Engineering Senator MacArthur Gill, and sophomore Alumni Lawn Area Representative Kenny Tan. On Tuesday night, I moderated a debate between the three candidates. Right now, let's take a look back at some of the night's best moments.
We have three candidates tonight who are eager to share their views for the future of Vanderbilt here tonight.
Well, I think my biggest accomplishment in VSG is the accountability and transparency omnibus that I authored. Basically what it does is it requires that VSG publish its minutes and its voting records within 24 hours of VSG sessions.
The issue is you really have to distinguish between experience and qualified. And I think that that's something that's very important to think about it. And as far as, the presidential candidate is concerned, I think that people really need to think about the difference between a qualified president, someone who's willing to listen to all the different sides, somebody who's willing to, go out there, reach out, put in the effort to really make a difference on this campus.
We want to make Vanderbilt a better place than it was when we initially got here. That makes us happy every day to see a new smile on someone's face when they know that something has helped them in a positive way, when they know that they now have a printer in their dorm, or they can get a smoothie at the rec center. I mean, I think that Driven Make a Difference is a great thing. In a lot of ways, we've come close to that goal, but we're still not done yet. And that's really what drives us, is that we know that there's still a lot to be done.
Looking at all the platforms, yours is different. There are not as many concrete proposals, and there aren't as many proposals. And in fact, the first item in your platform said that you don't believe in promising things you can't deliver. So do you think your other two candidates, your opponents, are promising too much?
I would say, based on previous, experiences, what I've seen in VSG on previous tickets, for instance, last year there was a ticket that promised 54 things, and you can't deliver on 54 things in a school year. It's impossible. And so, if I believe that ticket has delivered on, 20% of them, and I think that's unfair to the students. You promise them something and you don't deliver on it. I think that's just unfair, and I think it's not an effective way to get elected. I mean, maybe it is an effective way to get elected, and maybe that's a problem. But I can tell you this: that I'm not going to come out and promise you HDTVs in your rooms, because it's probably not going to happen.
I could think that was a great response.
I'm actually really excited about this one for rebuttal. But okay, so here's the deal. I think everyone already agrees that students don't want people to run on things that they can't deliver on. And I think students already agree that they want to have their voice heard, and they want to be brought to the table. So I don't really view those as platform points. I view those as mission statements, as goals, and they're great. But I think what the student voice is are initiatives. I didn't just come up with this in my sleep. Mark and I didn't just think of these initiatives in our sleep. We have a campaign team, and beyond our campaign team, of students all over this campus who have brought these ideas to us, and we're willing to do that. By the way, HGTV, hate to name drop, but I've been meeting with Jim Kramka, Mark has been meeting with Jim Kramka, other people in VSG's current administration have been doing so, and he is the Director of Housing, and the technology to accomplish HGTV and on-campus housing is closer than ever before.
I've actually taken a pretty strong stand on the university's non-discrimination policy. I actually side with the FIRE, which is the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education.
So to be clear, you are against the policy as it's currently written.
As the policy is currently being executed, yes.
Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance. You're going to hate my answer, but it doesn't matter if I agree with it. And that's the important thing, is that it's not about me, it's not about what I think, it's about what all of you think, it's about what the students think. I'm a voice for the students, and regardless of my personal opinion, in this case, I don't think it matters what I think. I think you have to listen to all the different sides of the students, get every side, and hear them out, and then you are the voice of the students, and you have to then go to the administration, tell them what the students are saying. And so, you can ask as many times as you want, but my answer is that it doesn't matter what I think about it.
I definitely have to say I agree with MacArthur on this one. I don't think that VSG should take a stance on such a divisive issue that so many multiple student views are voiced. However, like I said, people have their personal views, but in this case, as student body president, your personal view doesn't matter. so many views, and that's your responsibility is to represent all of these views.
All this week, too, the candidates have stopped by VTV's Morning View for extensive interviews. Here's a look at some of the more noteworthy moments from each of the candidates' interviews.
In your platform, you talk about wanting to redistribute some of the powers of the executive board back to the Senate. So doesn't this, in a way, weaken the office of president?
Yes, I believe. And I don't like to use the word weaken, but I think it shifts the power. I don't think the president should have quite as much power as the president has. And I think that that's something that I don't know how the other candidates really feel about that, but I can tell you that that's something that I strongly believe is that right now the executive board and the president, they have too much power. And I think that shifting some of that back to the Senate, you'll really regain a sense of people within the Senate who care and who feel like they have a purpose in what they're doing. And that's one of the biggest things for us is, I don't think that the president is the almighty VSG power. I believe that the president is there for the Senate to help get in touch with the different administrators that are needed to accomplish the task.
Mark and I have a very simple goal, and that's basically to make Vanderbilt a little bit better of a place than it was when we first got here. In a lot of ways, we've already accomplished that goal. For example, I'm very proud to say that I led the initiative to get the Smoothie King in the rec center, as well as the Commodore Cabs program when I was a senator 2 years ago.
First of all, can you guys tell me a little bit about why you were running?
Sure. So I came to Vanderbilt as a person dedicated to creating, I wanted to create my student organization the minute I stepped foot on campus. I created Young Americans for Liberty, which I started up and now has close to 300 members. And I really feel that the connections between the student body are really important, and VSG facilitates those connections very well. And it's a great opportunity to improve to close the gap between the student body and VSG. If I'm in office, I would like to promote a lot more accountability and transparency and open dialogue about important campus issues through VSG to do that.
Now, in your platform, you say that all student organizations deserve a seat at the table. Would this include organizations such as the religious groups, which have been found in noncompliance with the all-comers policy?
I think absolutely, because those organizations made mistakes in the recent past. That's very clear, and some of the things they did have hurt a lot of people on campus, including myself. But they've done so many other great things in their history at Vanderbilt. To say that one mistake from one organization, nullifies their goodness or their reasons for existence on campus, I think is irrational. And they deserve a seat at the table to make sure that this all-comers policy, that we move forward in a positive way, and that it's not taken too far against them. They deserve a voice just as much as all the other communities on campus deserve a voice.
I would definitely work with the administration to address any policy concerns that students have. One of the things that I proposed is a student rights committee that would basically allow students to have an official voice to the administration through VSG, and that's something I would definitely work on if I was elected president, to make sure that students' voices on these important policy issues are heard.
Now, I know this past year, VSG voted to make it easier for students outside of VSG to run for the office of president, sort of loosening the requirements on candidates for that office. Do you think that this is a sort of rebuking of that sort of VSG system where the vice president has traditionally gone on?
I think the reason it was, I was obviously voting for that resolution when I was a senator last year. But that is a perfect example of us simply trying to open up more as an organization. And by no means am I saying that the vice president should always go on to be president. Absolutely not. If there's a more qualified candidate out there, then so be it. They should be the ones to run, and they should be the ones to win.
And if you want to watch the full interviews with all the candidates, be sure to head on over to vanderbilttelevision.com or facebook.com/VandyTV. And in other news this evening, students are set to occupy Vanderbilt this coming Monday in solidarity with Occupy movements all over the world. After a rally at 5 p.m. Monday in front of Kirkland Hall, some students plan to set up tents for an indefinite occupation. In addition to showing solidarity with the Occupy Wall Street movement, they hope to draw attention to 3 specific issues related to administrative policy: ethical investment, fair wages to Vanderbilt employees, and communication with Vanderbilt students. Vanderbilt Peabody College of Education and Human Development has been named the top education graduate school in the nation by U.S. News & World Report for the 4th year in a row. U.S. News & World Report also ranked Peabody's Education Administration/Supervision program and its special education program as #1 in the nation as well. And with Monday's announcement that Vanderbilt received one of the 32 at-large bids to the women's NCAA tournament, women's basketball coach Melanie Balcom is now a perfect 10 for 10 in leading her teams to the postseason. The Commodores, who are 22-9 overall and 9-7 in the SEC, received the 7th seed in the Fresno region and will host their in-state rivals, 10 seed NTSU, Sunday afternoon at 4:10 p.m. in Memorial Gymnasium. Duke and Samford will play afterward, with the winner of the two contests set for tip-off on Tuesday, March 20th at 8 p.m. With singing contests capturing the attention of audiences across America, Vanderbilt students will have the unique opportunity to witness their very own sing-off this weekend. Vandy will host Varsity Vocals International Championship Collegiate Acapella South semifinals this Saturday at 7 p.m. in Ingram Hall, featuring the Vanderbilt Melodors. Former Melodor and Vanderbilt alumnus John Bonnock has worked diligently with Varsity Vocals and Vanderbilt Performing Arts Council members to bring this year's ICCA semifinals to Vanderbilt. Saturday's contest will pit 8 groups from across the South against each other, including the Melodors, University of Georgia's Accidentals, and the Octopodes of Johns Hopkins University. Well, earlier this week, the Vanderbilt Political Review hosted former Congressman Arthur Davis to discuss politics and civility. Here's a look back at this event.
I think there's so much distrust because both sides are telling us things that we know actually are not so. I can't tell you how many times, just speaking for me, I hear both the left and right say things that just don't describe the country I know. My friends on the left talk too much about group identity and began too many conversations with this box, and this box. My friends on the right try to argue that no boxes matter. They go in the other extreme direction of trying to think that we don't have to overcome any imbalances in this country. When I hear both of those, I start to distrust a little bit, and maybe you do too.
We are at the tail end of our event, Politics and Civility, and we're joined by Congressman Davis. And our main question for this evening is that we know that a lot of people, when they don't win elections, sometimes they kind of just run away from society, you could even say. Sometimes they move to another state, media's not there. What made you say, I want to go to Harvard, I want to teach a class, and I want to talk to people about politics and not remove yourself from that arena?
Well, I think it's so important, if you've learned something in politics, to share that with people. A lot of people in their political life is done, uninterrupted, whatever the state of play, decide that they really don't want to engage politics. They kind of want to stay away from it. I think it's the most vital subject that faces the country today in a lot of ways.
Well, the other big news today was the start of the NCAA tournament. Our #5 seed Vanderbilt Commodores took on Harvard this afternoon in New Mexico. Lots of viewing parties around campus today, from the Commons, as you see here, to Surratt Cinema, as students watched and hoped Vanderbilt would win an NCAA tournament game for the first time since 2007 and avoid 4 straight tournament losses. The final score, 79-70 in favor of the Commodores. To break down the action and look ahead, we're joined now by VU Sports Wired host Jackson Martin. Jackson, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
And what are your takeaways from the win today?
Well, a big win for the Commodores, pulling it out 79-70. But we saw a couple of the things that have haunted this team all year. Commodores had an 18-point lead in the second half, but threw almost all of it away, leading by just 5 late in the game. However, they were able to keep it together for the win, despite not hitting a field goal in the last 5 minutes and 22 seconds of the game. But great shooting day for John Jenkins. He had 27 points. Brad Tinsley had 16. And you saw really an overall team effort to get this win against a Harvard team that was just as hard as we thought it was going to be.
And Vanderbilt is taking on #4 Wisconsin next, and they're clearly a better team than Harvard. What does Vanderbilt have to do better against Wisconsin to ensure a victory?
Well, Wisconsin plays a very similar style of basketball to Harvard. They like to slow down the ball. They don't press on defense. They like to shoot from the outside, and they like to wait to very late in the shot clock on their shots. Now, that's something Vanderbilt can take advantage of, as we own one of the top 20 perimeter defenses in the country. But Wisconsin has one elite player, Jordan Taylor, who's a guard, that's going to give the Commodores absolute fits. Jeff Taylor's going to have to lock him down on defense. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, the Commodores are going to have to feed big man center Festus Ezeli. who was held to less than 10 points today, despite just absolutely pushing around the Harvard big guys. If Brad Tinsley and Keidron Johnson can work the ball in more and get Festus involved into the offense early on, I think you're going to see a good result for the Commodores.
It certainly will be tougher than today was. And right now, be completely honest, objective as possible. Who you got winning this next one? And sort of break down a prediction for us of how you see this one going to go.
Commodores all the way. This is a Vanderbilt team that has more talent than any team we have ever seen in Nashville here. I just got to believe that Jeff Taylor, John Jenkins, Festus, Steve, Lance, Brad, and the whole crew are going to bring it all together. Now, that being said, this might be the Commodores' toughest game until they get to the Elite Eight. Number 1 seed Syracuse had a really rough go in their game against number 16 UNC Asheville today. But I think objectively, it's going to be a close game, and it's going to really come down to whether or not Vanderbilt gets big performances from 2 of its big 3, John Jenkins, Jeff Taylor, and Festus. At least 2 of them are going to have to score 15 or more points if the Commodores are going to get a win.
Well, let's hope so. Thanks, Jackson, so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And you can catch Jackson and the rest of the VU Sports Wired crew every Tuesday at 5:30. And now, Harrison Dreves takes us inside Vanderbilt Scientific Imaging Center to learn about all that they do.
This building at the heart of Vanderbilt Medical Center contains one of the largest scientific imaging facilities in the United States. From MRIs to nuclear imaging, researchers at the Vanderbilt Institute of Imaging Science are finding new ways to look inside our bodies. Let's take a look.
Imaging in medicine used to be just the regular X-ray department where people, had CT scans or X-rays. But imaging is now an essential tool. Even think of patient care. You might have an MRI scan, you might have a PET scan, you might have an ultrasound scan. It doesn't make a lot of sense to actually develop those in isolation. So we're not in any single department. It's actually supported by the institution as a freestanding center.
The Institute contains devices designed to study a wide array of subjects, from humans down to mice.
Oh, we have a lot of toys. We have a whole floor which is the center for smaller animal imaging. And there we have all modalities. We have very high field MRIs. We have 4 other high field magnets for animals. We have micro PET, micro SPECT, micro CT. These are devices that mimic what's done in humans. For human imaging, magnetic resonance is a main research tool, and I mentioned we have a 7 Tesla human. There's only about 40 of those in the world still. It's about 10 in America. We have one of them.
With such a wide array of imaging devices and over 100 individuals on its staff, the Institute conducts research into a number of different fields.
There's a lot of work going on, for example, to look at the tumor microenvironment. So we have mice that have tumors, not only to understand how various tumors develop, but also in the idea of when you develop targeted drugs, how do you actually look at the effects of their response. Another area is we do a lot of work with non-human primates. That then leads into human imaging, where we have a large program in functional MRI. We work a lot with people in psychology and psychiatry. And then to push the envelope of MRI, particularly in the brain, we have engineers working at the highest field possible, which is 7 Tesla, overcoming some of the technical limitations and developing new methods for 7 Tesla imaging. So you can see there's quite a range of activities.
That was a quick look inside the Vanderbilt Institute for Imaging Science. For Inside Vandy, I'm Harrison Dreves.
Thanks for that, Harrison. Looks like some pretty cool stuff in there. Well, that is all the time we have tonight. Be sure to tune into VTV tomorrow at 5:30 for the VSG general election debate. And for all of us here at Vanderbilt Television, thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week for another installment. But until then, good night.